Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning Board meeting of the City of West Miami, February 28, 2023. My name is Gustavo Ceballos. I am joined to my left with Eugenio Gonzalez, and to my right with Diana Rio. And I will not waste any more time. We'll go ahead and start with approval of minutes from the January 24th, 2023 meeting. Does anybody have any comments or changes?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second. Can we have a quick roll call?
Diana Rio,
Yes.
Eugenio Gonzalez,
Yes.
Gustavo Ceballos.
Yes.
Item passes 3-0.
Right. Let's go ahead and move to new business.
Mr. Laurito asked to be excused for tonight.
Okay.
He's feeling ill.
Okay.
And Miss Milian is, I believe, on her way.
All right. Do you
All
need
who
a,
will testify, would you raise your right hand and repeat after me? I do swear, are you going to testify? I do solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
First item on the new business is variance hearing agenda item. Property address 6520 Southwest 21st Street, Victor Hugo Rodriguez, 5001 Southwest 87th Court. Applicant is requesting to add a terrace addition to the rear of the house. The proposed terrace, if allowed, would have a rear setback of 10 feet from the property line to the proposed terrace. The property is an interior lot, and the existing house has a front setback of 33.9 inches, where 25 is required by ordinance. The rear's 15 feet setback to the rear property line from the proposed terrace. The setback for the proposed terrace is shown at 10 feet from the property line. The property has 7,260 square feet, and the applicant is requesting a variance for the addition.
somebody on behalf? Feel free.
Hi, good evening. My name is Victor Rodriguez. I currently reside at 5001 Southwest 87th Court.
Hello.
However, I've been the owner of this property since 2001, and my children grew up here in the city of West Miami, and we eventually moved because we outgrew the house, but we were thinking of coming back. Two of my three children already have graduated. We have one last one. And so what we want to do is remodel the house. The house is kind of old. And what we want to do is to go ahead and, mainly what I'm here for is because I would like to go ahead and have covered terrace. I've never had one. And so we're asking for 5 additional feet going into the back of the house. Because otherwise the terrace would be like a 5-footer. And there's no point in doing a terrace if that's the case.
Understood.
And that's the variance that we're asking, just going 5 feet more towards the back of what the current existing house is, to provide that covered terrace.
For the record, we notified 500 radius feet around the property. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on the item? Name and address for the record.
Good evening, board members. Mr. Pena, Mr. Villalobos. My name is Jose Fuentes. I'm living at 2140 Southwest 65 Avenue. My property is on the back of the property that just talked about it. The yards are not really connected. They have one neighbor in between. Okay. What is the as I understand, a terrace is something that is a concrete or whatever on the floor who does not have any roof. I am correct on that?
No, sir. That's a patio slab, a concrete slab. This has a roof, would have a roof. The proposed addition has a roof. Same gable style as the existing property has now.
That's what I thought, but I just want to make sure that I don't state something that is not correct. Okay, basically, I am opposed to that because of the many problems that we have in the properties. Next to him, and in the same property. It's rented property. The next door neighbors are horrible, and they use the backyard until 2 o'clock in the morning, noises and everything. And if you go there now, you will see that they have 2 or 3 10 by 10 tents, or 15 by 15, whatever, and they use it as a house. Every weekend we have noises until so much in the night. And in this house, it happened before, nobody was rented, and we're really not happy about it. And I am not living next to them, and as it is now, I can hear those people next to them talking. I am in my backyard, and I can sustain a conversation with them because I can listen to everything they say. So that's what I am proposing. It's too close. Those extra feet is going to make it too close to the house and there. That's the only reason. Otherwise, I wouldn't have no opposition really. But I'm afraid that we're going to increase the problem that we have now with all the noises and everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just for the record, board member Natalie Miliana has joined.
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening.
Anyone else?
Name and address for the record, sir.
My name is Gustavo Rodriguez. My address is 6500 Southwest 21st Street. I'm the corner lot adjacent to Mr. Rodriguez. And pretty much it's the same, concern. We have renters, or, for the past, I want to say 10 years, there's been renters in that area. And the noise level is extremely loud. I have a terrace, but it's just a concrete slab on the bottom. I don't have a covered terrace. And also my neighbor, which is, the reason, he doesn't speak any English, but he's the one that's right next to the property line as well. And there's constant noise, because his bedroom is there. So we hear all of the noises of everybody that's in that area. I think, if you guys are going to approve, I think it would be ideal just to approve whatever is, by law, like the 15. If you give him an extra, 5 feet, he's pretty much going to be encroaching into my neighbor's property as well. So that's really the concern. I've had issues with those tenants in the past as well. It went from vehicles parking on top of the meters. It went to, the sheds, being built in the back, and, various things, that were going on. And every time, there was some sort of communication, or that you would try to have some sort of communication with the tenants or with Mr. Rodriguez, it was pretty much, like a dead bird, no noise whatsoever. There was no concern. So, it got to the point where no communication was, pretty much was established. But, despite all of that, I kept trying to communicate with the tenants that were next door to me, letting them know, look, please don't do that. You're not allowed, you shouldn't be parking on top of the meters, because if you're parking the meters or you have issues, then I'm going to be without water. I even had to put, we did cloches on my side of the line of the property, so that way, and this was recently that I did that, but I made sure, that it would be on that side so that there would be no miscommunication as to where does the property line end for anybody that, that was renting out the property. So noise level is a concern. And just like the other neighbors, have said, that it's pretty much, we hear everything that goes around in that little area, because our houses already are close proximity and some sort of, connection with the back. So that's the concern that we have.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask a question, if I may, sir. So you're the
Corner lot.
The corner lot,
Yes.
and so you'd be next to this house.
I'm
and
next to the house, yes.
They're currently renting the property.
No,
so
they're
it's-
not. They're not currently renting. It's been vacant for some time.
Okay.
The last time that that the tenant was there is, like I said, when that communication was going on with.
Okay. So I guess I would ask the applicant, but the use of the terrace is not going to be for their use. It's going to be for their tenants.
No,
He's-
no, the applicant stated that he's moving back into
Oh,
the
he's
city. He's
moving
gonna
back.
remodel the house,
Okay.
and he wishes to have the terrace.
So your issues have been with the,
Well, with the
rent-
tenants, yeah, you
the
know, it's been
tenants.
with the
I
tenants, you know,
understand.
that we've had, you know, like over the past couple of, like I said, 8 to 10 years.
okay,
And, you know, and then it's been vacant, I want to say maybe for like the last two. But that's pretty much, you know, like where it goes. But what the gentleman, you know, my neighbor said, you know, was the house that's next to Mr. Rodriguez is also like the one that
Also an
has the
issue.
sheds. With those are the ones, you know, that basically they're doing, you know, outside activities, which obviously, yeah, you could do out, you know, anything outside. But it becomes a nuisance when it's, you know, like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I even myself, you know, my neighbor, you know, the homeowner that's next to me, he doesn't have, Don Ortelio doesn't have, we don't have so much space between each other. I can literally, you know, like just step a few, you know, feet from my property and I'm already on his bedroom. So I, as, you know, as a homeowner, you know, also as a neighbor, I try not to cause any disturbance or try not to, you know, cause any issues for him because I understand that everybody should live, you know, in a nice, you know, neighborhood without having to hear issues, you know, from your next door neighbor at whatever time, 1, 2, 3, or whatever it might be.
Mr. Rodriguez, one
Thank
question.
you.
Yes, sir.
Your property, the setback on the rear of your property is also 10 feet, isn't it?
No, I think it's 15 because I measured it.
Is it?
Yeah.
I was believing that the prior owner had requested a variance there years ago.
I might be because, you know, I mean, I purchased my property in 2003,
Yeah.
but before that, I have no,
Yeah.
you know, I pretty much, you know, grandfather whatever was there. I haven't done any
Correct.
sort of construction or nothing like that. I pretty much left it the way that I inherited.
I'll be honest, I think a lot of the comments that I've heard tonight are about the use, not necessarily its variance.
Correct.
That's really my concern. I mean, the use.
Mr.
I mean, it's
Chairman?
One of the,
We're very sensitive about code enforcement and code complaints.
yeah.
And I don't know whether the gentleman has complained about code enforcement. But the thing is that, as you said, this issue of noise is a code enforcement issue, not a zoning issue.
And frankly, I think if I was a neighboring property owner, I'd rather have a rear terrace than tents, which I guess somebody's using in the neighborhood.
Well,
From
the
what I heard.
sheds, you know, they're the storage sheds pretty much, you know, like that you
people
can.
are hanging out
the
in the
mobile,
storage sheds?
Yeah, they're like you know, like there's just the single sheds that you buy at Home
Yeah.
Depot. Those type of sheds are the ones, you know, the neighbor was talking about.
Got it.
Okay.
Understood. I'll be honest, I'm leaning towards approving. The property is existing. There's a 33 front setback, so there's 8 feet that the property could have. Somehow you could shift the entire property forward, which you can't. You have 10 feet, plus you have another 2.5 feet from the other side for the easement, so the closest you'd be to the other property line of actual usable area is 12.5 feet, and it's probably more than that. But I will defer to my colleagues if they have any comments or questions.
You want that? He's the homeowner that basically is right in back of me or next to Mr. Rodriguez's property.
Okay.
So he doesn't speak in English.
Mira,
Are you
yo,
okay with
yo,
him?
yo ahora en español, yo vivo en 2130 Subway de la 65
Could
Avenida,
you interpret for him, sir?
del 66. Y no quiero que me fabriquen tan cerquitica de la yarda de atrás, porque yo vivo ahí atrás, pegada a la cerca y que me fabriquen tan cerquita.
So his reason is,
Entiendo.
you know, like what
Sí.
I stated before, you know,
Sí.
it's within close proximity to his side of the property.
Understood.
And there's also, I believe, there's a light pole. Not, I don't want to say a light pole, but there's
Utility
there's
pole.
utility pole
Sí.
between Mr. Rodriguez's property and also Mr.
Yeah,
Rotello's property.
there's an easement that runs behind all the properties here.
Right.
So
Is
it's
that
fine.
easement, is anything that happens in that easement, that's public, right?
No.
So it's your
East-
property.
Yeah.
But
No.
it is your property,
Okay.
but it is dedicated and it needs to be open to allow those easements to run.
Okay. Is there, Is there anything that says, you know, that you cannot put any rocks in that area to be able to keep the area clean?
I will defer to our staff.
You mean in order, instead of having,
Instead of the grass?
grass? Yeah,
Right.
you could fill it in with, P-rock or something like that.
Okay. Well, because he was, Mr. Rodriguez instructed Mr. Otolio to remove all the rocks from that area.
All of what? I'm sorry?
Well,
That exceeds the bounds of our review
No,
right
no,
now.
I just wanted,
but-
like I said, I just wanted to know.
Understood.
but,
Okay.
just to be clear,
Right.
Excuse me, sir.
Once- just to be clear,
Mhm.
half of the easement is Mr. Rodriguez's, half of the easement is the gentleman.
Ok. Entonces la mitad es de el señor Rodríguez y la otra mitad de esa área es de usted.
That's why if Mr. Rodriguez is asking to remove the rocks, it may be because he may have done the whole 5 feet instead of just 2.5 feet.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. ¿Va a decir algo más, don Natal?
Mr. Rodriguez, if you wish to.
First of all, the property has been vacant since 2019. I fell ill. And so any noise or anything after 2019, if there was, it was not from my property because it was vacant. I've had it vacant. It's been vacant. It's still vacant today. I did go back for a month due to personal reasons, but it's my property. I've had it since 2001. I'm the only person there that has provided an easement, by the way. I bought it that way. So I have a fence. I'm the only one. There's no easement on his side. There's no easement on the other side. That's not my business, whether people provide business or not. The only thing I'm here for is to ask for a covered terrace. Now, if other people are making noise, when you go outside in the back, anybody that talks here in West Miami, we know there's a lot of older people, you're going to hear. I own another home here about a block and a half away. It's my mom's when we first moved here in 1989. I hear my neighbors all the time. I can't go there and tell them, hey, shut up because I don't like it. I hear them, it's okay. I have no issues. But for my thing, what I'm asking for, like I said, I'm constructing, I'm trying to go by the book, I have an architect and everything. I just would like to have a covered terrace. I've never had one. That's all I'm asking, 5 more feet, and that's it.
Understood.
Thank you very
Anyone
much.
have any questions?
I have.
Sure, go ahead.
We really don't have an
I need
issue.
your name and address again, Mr. Suarez.
Jose Fuentes, 2140
Fuentes, I'm
Southwest 65 Avenue. I think we don't have an issue really with that, but the problem is that since it's going to be a terrace, we know for sure that's what's going to happen. And since it's not allowed because of the regulations, I think that we are requesting that from you people, that you know granted that, because that's no good for the neighborhood, really. That's no good. Oh,
Understood.
thank you.
I have a couple questions. On the staff report, it says here, this property has an irregular setback by the original construction.
Correct.
What is the irregular setback?
The setback required since 1947 was 25 feet. The developer,
At the
when he, front setback.
The front setback,
When the
okay.
developer decided to build this house and also the other, Mr. Rodriguez, the corner house, they're both set back further than the required. So that limits their backyard to a smaller backyard.
I see, okay. Okay, the other question is, are there any elevation drawings of this terrace?
Not at this point. This is preliminary to see if he proceeds with the plans for the addition.
Okay, because the way that we're looking at it here is a roof and 4 columns, but I don't know, based on these drawings, if these are really columns, if there's a smaller opening, if there's windows, if it's completely open, if it's easy to enclose, if it's not.
Yeah,
that's one thing
the
that I
recommendation,
see.
because it's so close to the rear property line, was to put a condition not to be able to enclose any part of the terrace.
And if they were to not do it covered, just do a slab, extend the slab, what would be the setback for that slab?
for the slab is actually 3 feet from the property line.
From the rear property line. I personally don't see any hardship, other than the house is built set back farther than the rest of the homes. But not having a covered terrace, in my opinion, doesn't prevent them from using the property with the way it is, or with a smaller terrace or a relocated terrace to the side. Those are just my comments. I don't feel confident approving something that I don't see the elevations for. And I don't think that they meet any hardship criteria in building this terrace.
Okay. Anybody else? No? If there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to deny the variance.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Okay. Can I have a roll call?
Diana Rio,
No.
Well, yes,
Oh,
in
yes,
favor of the denial.
yes.
Natalie Milian,
Yes, in favor of the denial.
Eugenio Gonzalez,
Yes.
and Gustavo Ceballos.
No.
3-1, motion pass.
Okay. Next item?
Mr. Rodriguez, you have the right for an appeal to the city commission. Okay, thank you. Next item is agenda item number 2, Meat and Wines, property address 1244 Southwest 57th Avenue. Applicant is requesting a sign permit for the business to allow the installation of internally illuminated channel letter in black aluminum. The front elevation, to the front elevation of the building. The plans for the building as submitted show the placement of 18-inch letters on the elevation of the building. The sign uses 17 square feet of the 86.4 square feet allowed by 30% rule.
Is there an applicant here?
No.
No?
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you here? We'll take it as long as you go.
My name is Fernando Diaz. I for the signs, the
Your address, please?
Huh?
Your address?
6500 Southwest 8th Street.
Okay, you're not up yet. That's the next one.
Oh,
That's okay. You can have a seat. There's no applicant present.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Are we on number 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, meats and wine?
Meat and wine. Right? Meats and wine?
Meats and wine.
Meats and wines, yes. It's a delicacy store.
So this sign is not illuminated?
I'm sorry?
Is this sign not illuminated?
The sign will have LED lighting. It's basically the logo and then the word meats and wines with the end symbol on it.
I assume it'll be up to staff to make sure that there's no exposed conduit or,
No, it would be mounted directly, the letters directly to the facade.
Okay.
No raceway.
And also the disconnect switch to be placed behind
Correct.
the parapet, or behind the wall.
if there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the sign with the condition of no raceway and no, disconnect switch, visible from the street.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a roll call?
I wanna-
Diana Rio?
Can I ask something? Is it-
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, is it black and white like that, or is it gonna be a different color?
It's black and white.
Black and white? Okay. Thank you, that's all.
Diana Rio?
Yes.
Eugenio Gonzalez?
Yes.
Nadia Migan?
Yes.
And Gustavo Ceballos.
Yes.
Thank you. 4-0, item passes. Next item on your docket is agenda item number 3, Pizza Hut, property address 6500 Southwest 8th Street. Applicant requests a sign permit for the business for the installation of architectural internally illuminated letters and logo for the name of the business. The plans for the building submitted, placement of the architectural letters on the front of the elevation of the business. The sign uses its 59.5 square feet of the 165 square feet allowed by the 30% rule. Sir? No, he's the sign installer. We will not do that.
Just one question.
Mm-hmm.
In this drawing,
Your name and address for the record first?
Yes, my name is Fernando Diaz. It's 6500 Southwest I Street.
Okay.
Bring the mic down, please.
Bring the mic down a little bit so we could hear you.
Yes, city.
Bring the mic down.
Bájalo, bájalo. Él se
Oh, no.
puede bajar. Ahí, gracias.
there's two lines here. Hay dos líneas aquí. Is that conduit? O eso es...
No, es el.
No va a estar ahí. No
No.
se va a ver.
No,
That's
es,
the raceway.
es sacar el logo antiguo para poner el logo nuevo. Se va a usar la misma estructura que está ahí. El de, solamente están cambiando el
The logos
el logo.
and the name.
Volvieron, ajá.
My question is, are they gonna have these, is that conduit exposed now because the single piece sign is being replaced with,
I don't think that's,
or is that just a sketch mistake?
that's just lines from the sketch, because the existing sign doesn't have it either.
Got it.
I think those lines are the, well, he's showing it right here, the wireway, because of the angle of the roof. It has to be mounted on something
The bracket,
to
correct.
make it straight. So that line that you're questioning, that is going to be visible. That is this piece that you see over here, drawn over here.
They're using the same bracket on the old one. I don't see it on the old picture.
Well, maybe because the signage, the previous signage, it's, well, first of all, the photo is kind of blurry, but the P of pizza is right on top of that,
The hat, yes.
whatever that is.
Usted sabe si el bracket que tienen ahora existente son las dos líneas que se ven aquí
Sí.
en lo que está enseñando usted?
Sí, es una sola línea. No son, es un solo raceway que hay ahí. Lo que quieren hacer es quitar el sign antiguo, usar la misma estructura.
Lo entiendo, pero el board no quiere que se vea el raceway en la parte que está separada del sombrero a pizza.
Ok,
So tuviera que ser dos individuales.
dos individuales. Ok, se puede, sí.
¿Se puede hacer?
Sí.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the sign with the condition of splitting the raceway, one behind the hat and one behind the word pizza or Pizza Hut, so that the raceway is not visible from the street, and also any disconnect switches to be hidden behind
The
the roof.
parapet, that's a parapet.
Yeah.
Understand.
Second.
No further discussion? We have a roll call?
Diana Rio,
Yes.
Natalie Midan,
Yes.
Eugenio Gonzalez,
Yes.
and Gustavo Ceballos.
Yes.
4-0, item passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
If we go back to the order of the agenda on the old business, you have the agenda item number 1, continued from the previous meeting, review of the existing sign ordinance. The board received a copy of the draft ordinance as presented. If you had time to review it, do you have any changes that you want to do before we submit it to the city commission for public hearing?
Yeah, I did have a chance to review it. And hopefully I made notes and I brought the correct
I need you to
one.
lower your mic, I could hardly hear you.
Now, I'm really, right now I'm just mumbling to myself.
Okay.
You know what? I have the copy that you sent. To
You have the
us.
red line copy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Me too.
You have the red line copy?
Yeah,
Do I?
here.
No?
No, that's without the red line.
Okay. It's not a lot of things. One thing that I didn't see on here was that we discussed, and we always comment in here, is that the sign should only have the name of the establishment, not the services. For example, if it's a jewelry store, it's Fulanito's jewelry store. Don't come to us and say, it's a jewelry store, it's a pawn shop, I sell and buy watches and I put batteries and all this signage. So limit it to the name of the establishment, period. On the main sign, obviously, they could have services somewhere else.
Okay, so I would imagine we could add that to 22-5.
Yeah.
Under sign restrictions on businesses and commercial property.
Yeah.
Board is all in agreement? I need a motion and a second.
I make a motion to accept my own amendment.
Well, just by I want to make sure everybody's in agreement,
Yeah, I'll second it.
okay?
Yeah. Me too.
Okay. The next thing is just a question for me. On this 22-5, shall not exceed 20% maximum of the front elevation.
Remember, we discussed that from the existing 30%?
Yes, but my question is front elevation. Why front elevation? Why not the elevation on which the sign is proposed? Because if it's a corner lot, you have the front elevation and then you have the side elevation. And if they want to put a sign on the side elevation, then they're going to go based on the front
22.5?
elevation square footage.
22.5?
Mm-hmm. Actually, if that by putting the word front, it limits them only to the front and doesn't allow them a side sign on the building.
I don't infer that from here.
I mean, we could elaborate and say the front elevation where the front door to the businesses.
No, or,
Let the
so
attorney.
so what happens if it's a corner lot? For example, the,
Usually corner lots, because of the fact that they could, they're so close to the residential area, we don't allow any signs on the side of buildings.
no, but the one that comes to mind is, across from the gas station on 8th and 50-something.
59th?
The old,
The old,
it used to be,
ALF.
yes, yes, that has two frontages. So the front is much narrower than the side. The side is that long side. So they can't have a sign on the side, on the
No.
long side?
No, but it would be visible from the residential area.
Well, no, it has the gas station across the street from it.
I understand that, but right south of them, the houses that are on Sylvania Boulevard
Okay.
face in that direction.
Okay. Okay. I'm just wondering if that's something that, you know. Okay. If it's the front elevation, it is the front elevation. But I don't see, there's nowhere in here that tells me your sign is only allowed on the front elevation. Because if I was that ALF and I have that whole frontage, I would want to put a sign on that side. Where in here does it tell me I'm not allowed to have a sign facing, because I'm facing the residential?
There is a section.
So as long as it's on there somewhere, then that's fine.
There
If
is a
it's not
section.
there, you can always put it there.
Well, but there is a section because it refers to that the only thing that the businesses may have that faces the residential area are the numbers of the building.
Okay. No, I didn't see that at all. Okay.
I would have to look it up, but from
Okay.
my recollection.
Okay. Then that's fine. And then the next one is section 22-6. Revolving signs, sparkling signs, flowing signs, and directional flow signs are permitted. I thought at some point we discussed in here that we didn't want those at all. So those should have been put under the prohibited signs.
So we gotta add there between the R and permitted, not.
Okay, not. And that's also on 22-8, letter N, where it says no revolving sign shall be permitted to make more than 10 complete revolutions. Just no revolving signs. So move that down to the prohibited signs.
So we stop at no revolving signs shall be permitted
Correct.
and strike out the rest.
Yeah.
But I think you want to move it down to the prohibited sign, right? So it would just be revolving signs.
Right. Under the prohibited signs, it would be,
Revolving signs
What
would be
is-
one of the prohibited.
revolving signs is one of the prohibited ones.
So we would be removing N.
Delete letter N
Deleting.
and put no revolving signs as letter then H, J.
Which letter?
J.
J.
J, okay.
J.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's
Okay.
eliminated. We'll do one, it's not one way or the other.
Right, but this is what I was referring to. If you go to, where is this?
G,
2209
G.
G. Talks about no illuminated sign shall face any residential, nor shall any sign cast illumination upon any residential property.
Is this what you were talking about when I asked about
Correct.
it? What if I don't want it illuminated?
Again, the only thing we allow is numbers on the back of the building.
Okay.
So why don't we put it here then?
Sure,
So,
we'll add it.
Eh?
Add it.
Right? So it would be no illuminated sign or any sign,
except for the number,
except for numbers.
the address of the building.
Except for numbers identifying the property.
Right.
See, eliminate the, it says no illuminated sign, strike illuminated. It says no sign shall face any residential area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then delete nor shall cast. Any residential property. Okay.
Okay. And then under detached signs, 2210, letter G.
What subsection?
G,
G.
210, 2210.
Okay, so this is for a shopping center. You may erect 2 signs instead of the 1. And again here, could one of those signs be on the, not on the front? Think of the one right here, the tropical. It doesn't face any residential area. So they could have a sign on 8th Street and a sign on 62nd Avenue.
No,
They could not have one on 62nd,
they could only have the 8th Street sign.
even though they're not facing, well, technically, they're not parallel to a residential.
Correct, but the city does not allow.
It's not, okay.
The only thing that it does allow for them, since they have more than 150-foot frontage, is they could have 2 independent
Two
signs.
separate signs instead
But
of the
we
one.
reduced it from 50 each to 25 each, or 50 for the whole
For
place.
for the one, okay. And I think the last one is, on my marked up copy here on section 22-16. It says delete or reduce the size of the digital reader boards and LED boards. But yet I see everything, crossed out.
Correct, that was all deleted.
All delete, okay.
That's at the end, part 2, 24.
And can we increase the fine for the violation for putting up a sign
I
without?
can't hear you.
Can we increase the violation fine for putting up a sign without a permit? Right now,
The-
it says here $250.
That's correct, that's covered by state statute.
And that's, okay, so that we can,
Only if they repeat offense, then they could be doubled to $500.
okay. Okay. That was the extent of my comments.
That was good.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I did have one, not, I guess one comment and one question. So I did see here that under design and construction, my previous question at the previous board meeting is why are we reviewing these things if we can't? If there's no criteria, it has the criteria, it's right here. Approved by planning and zoning board as to size, shape, color, design, and panoramic view of the property and adjacent property as they pertain to compatibility and suitability to the existing building and surrounding area. I mean, I think we have a pretty wide discretion as to what we believe is suitable and compatible to the surrounding area, just for future references. And then in reference to the entire ordinance itself, I will defer to the city attorney, but I'm just concerned that there are multiple sections of this code that run afoul of the Gilbert case about content neutrality. So I don't know if we need to look at that as well and make those changes. Because we treat real estate signs, political signs, so just a note to look into it, because I feel like all of that may run afoul of the Gilbert case.
Okay, would you care to point it out and give me a copy of that at some point?
Sure.
Okay.
But I have no
Does
comments.
this case have anything to do with these signs being temporary?
It dealt mostly with content neutrality, meaning that you cannot treat signs differently dependent on what the content of the sign is. So if I say a sign can't, a restaurant sign can't be this, that's problematic, or a political sign, because I'm treating it, so the sign that doesn't say political I treat one way, and the sign that has political information on it I treat it in a different way.
Oh, I see, okay.
So the content of it, I can't treat them differently dependent on the content. That was a couple years ago.
Depending on the content, but not on the aesthetics.
Other things you can regulate.
Okay.
You can treat all temporary signs
okay.
the same. You can treat, the design the same, but just, you can't treat them differently depending on their content. That's the best way.
Okay.
But I have no further comments. I think all your edits were great.
And as far as criteria, if you have any suggestions, we would like to take it out and
No, I like the criteria. I just didn't know we had it. I'd be honest, I have not done my due diligence, and I had not reviewed this. I think this board has a significant amount of leeway as to what commercial signs can be installed if we don't believe they're compatible or suitable for the area.
Correct.
So that gives the board more
More authority.
discretion,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, more,
Very wide discretion.
correct, to kind of say, hey, we don't like this, we don't think this goes with what the city, the city
Yeah.
should look like, right?
And if they don't like it, they can take it to the commission.
Right. So we were okay with that,
Yeah,
that application, that we didn't
100%.
like how it looked.
Yeah.
100%. Do we need to take any other motion on that?
No, that's fine.
Okay, and there was one other item, no?
Yeah, agenda item number 4, review of existing ordinance 282, section 4A. Discussion and possible review of existing zoning ordinance 282, section 4A for regulations for reference commercial vehicles in residential area and proper storage. We started this under the previous board that was here, but never finished it. However, the city commission wishes for us to go back and revisit it. And I printed you what's existing now in section 4A, which covers boats, covers commercial vehicles on property. But the city commission actually wishes for you to go even deeper in regulations by addressing where they can park vehicles that have commercial markings on them. In other words, they don't want them on the street or on the swale. They want them if you're going to bring them to your property as part of your salary or incentive from the company you're working for. They want you to be able to park them within your property, obviously on a paved surface. So they want you to go through this regulation and come back with suggestions. If you wish tonight, you can take it with you and we could discuss it at the next meeting.
I have a question, Juan, on
Yes.
that. Sometimes there's commercial vehicles that are not marked as such, but you can tell they're for work purposes. Is that also something that would be
Yes, there is a
covered by this?
there is a county ordinance where it requires minimal signage on commercial vehicles.
Okay.
So they have to have at least a minimal signage that the county requires.
So if there's like a, truck that is obviously a work vehicle or used for work purposes and they're, it either has to have signage or
The minimal required.
would they have to park it then in the same fashion as these vehicles in this ordinance?
That's what they wish for you to regulate.
Yeah, even if it doesn't have a commercial sign on it?
Correct.
Okay.
Any
They should
vehicle,
have, everybody should have a commercial signed,
any vehicle
sign.
used
Right,
for
if it's
commercial.
being used for,
Mr. Pena, did they also want the, regulate the size, the height and the width?
Correct.
and-
And then this regulates the size and height and what equipment could be on the external part of the vehicle. And if you want to regulate that too, they want you to go, it's the same as the sign ordinance. Whatever we don't want to see in here,
So is this mostly for pickup trucks? Is that the bigger concern? Or we're talking about box trucks?
we're talking about vans, we're talking about pickup trucks, we're talking about anything that's being used for commercial purposes and bringing them home at the end of the day.
Got it.
They don't want to eliminate any class of vehicle
Yeah.
under the 3/4 ton, but they do want to regulate where they park when they're here overnight or on the weekends.
I mean, we could just ban any sort of commercial markings on being parked in residential zones. You just you gotta put a cover. You gotta put a cover or a magnetic cover. They're very common.
Well, magnetic signs were eliminated by the county because they fell off,
Ah,
and the vehicle.
Constituted a hazard, vehicle hazard.
Yeah,
understood.
And they were being used without the identification as Ms. Milian was saying.
Now, I'm not saying magnetic signs.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying that your typical car, let's say your car has a logo.
Oh,
and
you
your
put a
car's
magnet
white,
over-
you put a
okay.
white magnet right when you get home and it covers up
That
the
could be
logo,
an
so it
option.
looks like a white car.
That could be an option.
That's I only know because I used to drive a commercial vehicle that had a logo on it.
So if you wish, we could discuss it tonight or take it
No, I
to
guess we should all take a look. I mean,
digest, and at the next meeting, we'll jump into that one.
understood. You need a motion to defer it or no?
Nope.
Okay.
Motion to continue and then a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
And remember to give me any issue that you'd like for me to review on the Gilbert issue?
Will do.
Okay.
so.
All right, do we have a motion to continue?
Continue the, discussion on the ordinance.
Okay.
Oh,
Do we have a second?
Sorry, I second.
282, section 4A, to be specific.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. And
I had a question. I stayed thinking about it earlier, Juan. The item that we voted, that we opposed on the terrace,
Yes.
is that, so now it goes to commission. Do the residents get notified again, of such?
Yes.
That it was appealed and it's going before the
The
city
same
commission?
500 feet radius will get noticed
Okay,
of that meeting.
okay. All right, thank you. Motion to adjourn?
any other questions? We're good? All right. Good night.
Good night. And also the